Lore of the Old World, Chapter 18, Realms of Magic. The raw stuff of magic enters the world directly from the realm of chaos, flowing through vast interdimensional gates at the world's poles. These gates, created by the Old Ones in an age long past, served both as doorways through which the godlike Old Ones could come and go between worlds, and a means by which to draw magic into the world and harness its power. Long ago, a great cataclysm caused these gates to collapse, releasing a deluge of raw magic upon the world so great that it instantly overburdened the delicate machinations of the Old Ones. In a moment, the geomantic web, the latticework of mystical pathways built into the fabric of the world to fuel and control their world-shaping engines, shattered, and wide cracks formed in the foundations of the Old Ones' work. The raw stuff of chaos began to coalesce upon contact with reality, forming cosmic dust clouds of weirdling stone in the heavens above. Great comets of this foul stone fell to the earth, warping and mutating all it touched. That which didn't fall to the earth accumulated in the heavens, forming a new moon, which shone with a pulsating unlight, its erratic orbit causing the world below to shudder and continental plates to shift. Upon the back of this magical deluge rode the multitudinous demonic servants of the Chaos Gods, an unending legion that heralded the coming of the ruinous powers to the world. In a final crushing blow, as the cataclysm unfolded, the Old Ones were ripped from the world, leaving in their wake only ghosts and memories. Thus it fell to the young races to defend their very existence against the endless legions of chaos, in a war that was to last more than 1,000 years. It was an act of great sacrifice that would restore some vestige of order into the world. Amongst the elves of Ulthuan, powerful mages had worked long on a plan to draw the uncontrolled magic out of the world. They hoped that by constructing a vast pattern of waystones, they could channel magic into a vortex and back into the aetheric netherworld. These waystones, mighty menhirs described with potent runes, were erected to work in harmony with the network of far older stones, each a node of power within the geomantic web. By extending this network, it was reasoned that the flood of wild magic could be siphoned away. With the creation of the waystones complete, a great ritual was undertaken to awaken their power, and imbue them with purpose. Yet, even as the ritual unfolded, a demonic host of unprecedented size descended upon Ulthuan. As battle raged, many mages fell, their incantations unfinished. Those that remained knew they were sacrificing their very souls to the completion of their ritual, but none faltered, and as the ritual reached its crescendo, and the swirling vortex opened wide, the remaining mages were dragged into a strange nether hell, in which they were damned to repeat their incantations until the world itself crumbled to dust around them. With the completion of the great ritual, the elven vortex instantly began channeling raw magic back into the realm of chaos. As the storm of magic that had raged unchecked for more than 1,000 years subsided, the demonic legions were forced to retreat back into the aether. The world had been saved, but only for a while, and it would never be the same again. Yet for all the elven vortex was a success, it could only ever hope to draw magic from the world. The sheer amount flowing freely into the world from the sundered polar gates was not diminished at all. The once gentle haze of magical potentiality which had clung to all things, visible to those gifted with the mage sight, had been replaced by gusting winds that rarely ceased, occasionally building into gales before suddenly vanishing, only to resume their billowing after mere moments of calm. As the etheric winds continued to flow, elven mages began to perceive peculiar currents not visible before. More unusual still, these new currents were shot through with vibrant colours, where once the winds of magic had shone only with a silvery white light, or boiled black under the influence of chaos. These coloured streamers seemed drawn to the material world in ways the mages instinctively knew were meaningful. To those gifted with the mage sight, the world around them had changed. In the deep forests, a rich jade-green wind blew. Around the massive pyres on which fallen soldiers burned, a roiling red wind blustered. Across the endless battlefields, a cold purple mist hung. In all 8 distinct hues were discernible, 8 different winds. As this phenomenon was studied, elven mages found that they could grasp and manipulate these winds with an ease once only dreamed of. Where once even the most skilled of mages had to carefully unpick the power needed from the magical wind, now they could see that power clearly and grasp it at will. It was as if scales had fallen from their eyes, and the ways in which magic and the world around them intertwined had been revealed. Though the elves had no way of knowing it, the geometric web had fractured when the polar gates collapsed. When the elves had built their waystones, they had added many nodes of power clumsily into the arcane circuitry of the old ones, causing fractures to break wide open. As raw magic escaped these wounds, strange currents formed, and the many strands of etheric energy that combined to create raw magic bent and separated from one another, in much the way light disperses into rainbow colours when shone through a prism. With the coming of chaos, magic had engulfed the world, but when chaos was driven back, the magic persisted. What's more, the very nature of magic itself had changed, and with that change was the world itself altered in ways that could never be undone. In the centuries that followed, the mages of Ulthuan studied the winds of magic, dedicating their long lives to understanding the different winds and how each could be manipulated. They learnt that pure magic, or high magic, still existed, and that each of the differently hued winds was a mere aspect of this. They learned that with sublime skill the pure wind of high magic could still be seen and manipulated by a mage with a mastery of each of its component strands, and that through studying each in isolation they could better their understanding of high magic. With this study came knowledge of the dangers of magic. The gifts of mage sight, the ability to discern the winds of magic, was one born to many with no rhyme or reason, and with it came an ability to manipulate those winds and craft magic. Those that did ran great risks, however, for since the corporeal world had been open to the ravages of the ruinous powers, demons could find ways to return. The easiest of these was through a rent opened in the mind of a careless magician. Whilst the ability to perceive and manipulate the winds of magic was a gift of birth, using that gift, without the care born out of long study, could easily prove fatal. In the long millennia since the elves enacted their great ritual, their race has both prospered and declined, whilst other, younger races have matured and become dominant forces in the world. To each of these races are born many children gifted with the mage sight, and of these many grow to become powerful magic users. In the lands of men, elementalists, illusionists, demonologists, and necromancers practice strange laws of their own devising, manipulating the winds of magic and crafting spells that suit their purpose. Often such wizards practice their arts clandestinely, relying upon guilds and secret societies to share knowledge, fearful of the witch hunters and militant priests of intolerant gods that roam the lands, compiling tomes of magical lore, cataloguing their knowledge, and compounding their errors for future generations. Dwarfs, remembering the harrows wrought upon their world by demonic legions, and rightfully suspicious of the dangers of wizardry, nevertheless bend magic to their will. Skilled smiths craft spells with hammer blows and hot metal, shaping the raw stuff of magic into physical form as runes, storing the power safely. Their skill in this regard is unrivaled among the races of the world. Strangest of all is the magic of the orcs and goblins. Seemingly ignorant of the winds of magic, orc and goblin shamans are somehow capable of bending them to their will with brute force alone, altering the winds and changing them into a primordial force known as war magic. By and large, the elves of Ulthuan decided long ago they cared little for the errors of other races. If a wizard wishes to perform nonsensical spells and risk demonic possession, so be it. High magic, pure of form and purpose, is the preserve of elves alone.